Okay, Marilyn. So you grew up around which war?
Second World War.
And so how did your life, like, how did that come about? Like, one day they just said, like, there's a war? Or how did it start?
It started, just turn it off for a minute, let me think.
So how did World War start? Like, one day you just...
Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor, okay.
You know, and the Japanese and the Germans were on, I guess, one side. And so we got into the war. But before we got into the war, Franklin Roosevelt, he wanted us to get, he was smart, he knew we had to stop this.
Right.
But there were a lot of people that we don't know who they were. And so he was giving Churchill help. That was the English.
Churchill was the English, right?
Yes.
Was he? Okay.
I forgot what his title was. But anyway, he was very smart. And so they got together. In fact, they met one time out in the ocean on a boat to make
How
plans,
neat.
to make plans, you know. And he began giving Churchill support almost illegally long before we got into the war.
How neat.
You know, he knew we were going to be next on Hitler's list. Hitler was going through Europe every 2 days. He took over another country.
That's so wild. Like, nowadays you don't think about that, but I mean, that's a big thing.
Oh yeah. Wow. Because they had, they were so corrupt. I mean, when they hit your country, you were in big bad trouble. Once they took the country over, you know, everything went crazy.
And a lot of people nowadays don't understand that at all. They don't understand at all
and they don't understand how all the Jews were locked up in camps.
I mean, a lot of idiots don't believe it, and that's what's stupid.
Well,
but that's, I mean, it's crazy, like, all that happened, and, you know.
It was, I mean, he would just take over a whole country. He wasn't going to stop.
And so we just got together, and like America it started changing one day, because I know iron, like steel and iron.
After Pearl Harbor was the thing that got us into it.
Because they came and I know, because I had a lot of family members bombed in Pearl Harbor.
Right, but that was Japanese. But the Japanese, and remember, I was just a kid when all this happened. But the Japanese were connected to Hitler.
Right.
To Germany. So when they bombed us in Pearl Harbor, we were in the war.
Yeah, because once that happened, it was just like we're deep into it.
I can still remember hearing, you know, having that. We only had radios, remember, and so it came over the radio. But what has been impressive to me between that war and what we do now is how people were just so caught up in it and followed it and fought for it and bought stamps for.
Wasn't there, like, what was the other thing that the people bought, like war bonds? War bonds.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I just recently saw those the other night on the TV show.
They used to sell war stamps to schools. That at school you'd buy, you know, $1 worth of stamps. And
right.
Put them in a book. And they were returnable. I mean, you got your money back on them, but it was like a loan.
Wow, that's so neat.
But
like,
people were so patriotic.
Now it's not like that nowadays. They're not.
One of the reasons we're not patriotic is because we don't get any information.
True.
If you remember Vietnam, every night would be on television, on the news, they would show pictures of the dead soldiers laying and waiting to be buried.
Yeah.
That was very, very real.
Oh yeah.
So then with this stuff that went on after that, You don't hear about that war, or you don't even know we're in a war.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Yeah, and they kind of kept it hush hush.
Absolutely.
But now, like, I wish they would do that more nowadays.
Well, no, we, as people, we could stop them from having this war. We could, this is a free country. We could vote. We could be people who said you got to stop. The war they had in Vietnam was disgusting. Nobody to this day can tell you why we were there.
Why were we in Vietnam?
I don't know.
We didn't have any oil there.
We didn't have anything there.
Yeah, like what the F?
I don't know why. Nobody knows.
I know a lot of people that were in the Vietnam War, but it's
Absolutely.
like shit. It's like what were we there for? Try to help out people or what?
The terrible thing about that too, also besides the fact that they had these jungles and they, it was terrible, but they all got hung up on drugs.
Oh, because that was where a lot of the drugs were.
It was drugs. They all came back,
high on drugs. Yep, you're right. 100% right. Wow. Because I always wondered, like, what was the Vietnam? Because every other war, there was a reason. There was like, Hitler taking over or whatever.
Right.
But what were the Vietnam? What was the Vietnam for? Nothing.
Somebody who can tell you.
You're so cool. That's so right. Because I don't know. I'm like shit.
Nobody knows. I mean, there's somebody knows. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but still, it's like.
But see, the people who run the world.
They know.
They know. But they didn't want. We were in the Vietnam War. We had a lot of people running around marching out of there, and so they just got stopped with the news and.
Because they had the news company called Stars and Stripes, I think, right? Stars and Stripes?
Stars and Stripes I think that's Army Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, because there was a bunch, I've seen in TV, whatever, but they filmed a lot over there, and I think that was pretty neat, but yeah, well, what the hell was the Vietnam?
My son, they had a draft.
Yeah.
And my son was in the draft. And I swore if he got drafted, I would have shot him in the foot.
Oh, so you couldn't? Yeah, smart
Absolutely.
woman. You're a smart lady. I know you've always been smart as hell, but that's smart.
There was no way I was going to let my son go to that war.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you a bit.
Tell me what it's about first, guys.
Wow. But yeah, I like your style about I'll shoot you in the foot. I like that.
Well, since then, we don't hear about anything. Do you know anything about wars going on around the world? Nope.
No. But there's a bunch of BS going around the world for sure. But I don't know what's actually really going on.
We don't know. They don't put it on the nightly news, because the nightly news was free. There were no sponsors.
Okay.
And there was I never looked this up, but there was some reason, supposedly, like the airwaves belong to the people. So to compensate us for that, they gave us free news.
Okay.
But somewhere along the line, that kind of passed.
It got misconstrued somewhere.
And now you got sponsors. How can you get really good news with sponsors?
You always told me that's a bunch of BS, right?
Yeah, they all got something,
True. Because with sponsors, you got a bunch of BS with it.
And you got people connected to different countries with sponsors.
Yeah, I get it.
The news we get now is ridiculous.
BS. It's junk mail. Even though you are against Trump, he does have a good point. It's fake news. There's a lot of fake news. But there's a lot of fake news. You know that.
There's always been.
I know you're not a Trumper or nothing,
Oh,
but
no.
he does have a good
Trump is-
point about fake news, though, right?
I think so. I probably, but I don't know what he means when he says fake news.
Okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
understand that.
See, I don't know if he's talking about fake news about him.
Oh, there you go too. There you go too. But their dude put a lot of bullshit out there on that news channel, especially CNN. Come on, they prove themselves wrong daily.
We must get 10% of what's real.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe.
I agree with you there.
It's in my opinion that a lot of people are beginning to see that. And you know what? Trump is responsible for the fact that people got involved. Before Trump came along, everybody saw the corruption, but nobody wanted to do anything about it.
Okay.
People weren't voting, and that's why we got to the place we got.
Okay.
And so I've always given him credit for causing people to get out of their houses and march.
100%. I agree on that one. Because there's a bunch of fake news. There's a bunch of fake news, Marilyn. You know that.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about this fake like because when you watch news every day, I mean you're home a lot.
Bit, yeah.
Like when you watch news, just like you said the other day, it's a bummer to watch. Like the first little bit of the news is great.
Don't take it too seriously.
Okay, I like that because that first part of the news there's some good stuff. You know what happens daily in your neighborhood or whatever.
I'm interested in that.
But the last part of the news, like you said, is a bunch of BS.
It's what they want us to hear.
That's very true. I'm so with it on that because
It'll change, but it won't change and it's beginning to have that power, around everywhere in the country. The world is saying enough.
Enough.
Until enough people. Our country was founded on the idea that we were free because we vote.
Yes.
And we let go of that freedom. People were just dropping out. I know it's corrupt, but I don't want to vote.
I'm not gonna vote. Is that what you said?
I don't want to vote. Right? What the hell?
They gotta vote. People gotta vote.
Gotta vote. It is your obligation as an American to vote. We're a free country, and there's the government stuff and everything, and we have to vote.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
So everyone, you gotta vote.
Can you imagine what the world would be like in our country, if nobody voted? Can you imagine?
Chaos.
Disruption, corruption.
I could see
It's
that.
we got enough of it now, but nobody was watching it before. Everyone knew the corruption was there, but they just didn't want to do anything about it.
Chaos and corruption. That's good. That's a good point.
But just historically, chaos causes change. See, we don't like to change.
Chaos causes change.
We don't
Corruption.
like to change.
Yep.
And so we take the easy way out. But when you get chaos, you get up off your duff, as people are doing now, and march. And say, this is wrong, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to go vote. But without chaos, you don't get change.
I like that.
It's the truth.